Hello guys, I'm Sophia. I'm sure you have heard about a lot of bad mothers-in-law. Well, mine was exceptionally worse because my husband encouraged her toxic behavior. However, I had the perfect plan to reform my husband and show him just how toxic his mother can be. Fred, my husband, was a great boyfriend. We met in college and immediately fell in love with each other. He seemed to be a very caring individual with the same hobbies as me. We were both pursuing a difficult college degree and bonded over the fact that we enjoyed traveling. Our love grew with the years, and I was sure he was my soulmate. However, there was one big problem with Fred. He was a big mama's boy. I didn't mind it because I thought it was sweet. He was close to his family, and since I was estranged from my own family, I really wanted his mother to like me. I thought she would accept me as her own. After all, Fred loved me. Soon I realized how naive I was. Fred took me to meet his mother almost 2 years after we started to date. He did warn me that his mother, Laura, was skeptical about his girlfriends. She had never liked his exes and still found it hard to like someone her son liked. I was prepared to impress her and change her mind about me. I saw a future with Fred and wanted to marry him, so I wanted Laura to like me as well. It soon became apparent that Laura was prepared to hate me. On our first meeting, Fred said, "Mom, this is Sophia. She's the one I've been talking about." I greeted her with, "Hello, Laura. I've heard a lot about you. I've been dying to meet you." Her response shocked me. "Well, I wasn't interested in meeting you at all. I don't know why Fred brought you to the house. You will be gone in a few months. I don't need to know you personally. I love you, son." Laura continued, "I'm sure he loves me too. I don't plan on leaving him so soon." Fred affirmed, "Why would you? You already sunk your claws into him anyway. If you're so confident, we will see what happens. But remember, I will always be his priority." "Isn't that right, Fred?" Fred replied, "That's right, Mom. You're my top priority at all times." Amelia already knows that. This is why I'm so sure about her. Laura dismissed my attempts to befriend her. "I have no interest in spending time with you. I don't like you, and nothing you do will change my mind." Fred never helped or defended me when his mother spoke about me. I was taken aback by Laura's behavior. The worst thing was Fred's lack of response to it. When Fred dropped me off, I asked him about it. "Fred, why was your mother so hostile towards me?" "I told you she doesn't like the people I date. She's a little possessive towards me. That happens when it's just the two of us. Mom wants to be the only woman in my life. That is extremely unhealthy behavior." Fred didn't see the issue. "No, it's not, Sophia. Most people have a close relationship with their mom. It's natural for her to be protective of me." I argued, "How are you defending her actions?" She insulted me throughout the entire meeting. Fred dismissed it. "Look, Mom says things like that. You'll get used to it." Furious, I couldn't hold on to my anger for long. He love-bombed me, and I decided to stay away from Laura and save my dignity. However, Laura had a very different plan. It was only a few days before our second anniversary when Fred told me that he had an elaborate date planned out for us. I was super excited to spend some quality time with him. My college work was getting stressful, so we rarely met those days. I was looking forward to the date. That was until I walked into the restaurant. Part 2. Guess who's sitting right next to Fred at our table? Yes, it was Laura, his mother. I was pretty miffed by her presence and confused at the same time. I said, "Hey, Laura, what are you doing here?" She responded, "My son invited me to dinner. I hear it's your second anniversary, so I'm here to celebrate with my son." That's right, how can we celebrate such a milestone without my mother? So I'd invited her too. We can finally spend some family time after so long. I explained, "So you invited your mom to our romantic anniversary date. Are you mad?" Laura interjected, "Don't talk to my son like that. I gave birth to him, and I will be present where he is. You better accept this fact before thinking about staying in this relationship." Shocked, I sat down and decided to go through with dinner. Throughout the entire dinner, Laura loudly chatted with Fred, while the two ignored me completely. By the end of the night, it was clear that I was just a third person at this dinner. I told Fred that I was not feeling well and left. He didn't call me for the entire night. The next day when he called, I said, "What the hell were you thinking inviting your mom like that?" Fred replied, "I'm sorry, Sophia. I know I messed up. I should have consulted you before inviting my mom." I confronted him. "Fred, I know you love your mom and want her to be happy, but that doesn't mean you have to include her in everything. Some things are meant for just the two of us. You should understand that." Fred admitted, "I know, Sophia. It's just that my mom depends on me a lot. It's hard for me to ignore her when she is guilt-tripping me. I feel like I'm abandoning her." I argued, "You live with her, Fred. How the hell are you abandoning her? You see her all the time. Hell, you spend more time with her than you do with me." Fred insisted, "I'll try to balance everything better. Please give me the chance." I forgave him and let it go. I loved Fred, and I didn't want to leave him. All I wanted was some boundaries between us and Laura. Well, Fred never invited Laura on our dates again. Instead, Laura is the one who randomly showed up and joined us every time. It happened for months, but Fred never asked her to come. He said, "Sophia, please believe me. I never invited her. She knew where I was and decided to show up." I questioned, "Then why didn't you make her leave?" He replied, "Well, she was already here. I didn't have the heart to ask her to leave. Can't you let it go this time? It's been happening for months now. She always shows up when we have big plans." I was getting nowhere with Fred and Laura. She never took a hint, and even if she did, Laura never cared. She felt entitled to join our date just because she is Fred's mother. Fred always said that it wasn't his fault. He was living with his mother. So Laura always knew exactly when and where he was going. I was at the end of my wits with this situation. After things didn't improve for a while, I vented to my best friend, Rosa, about the situation. I said, "I can't take this anymore, Rosa. Laura is just hell-bent on ruining our dates. This is so annoying. I know Fred is trying his best, but she just wouldn't listen." Rosa shared her perspective. "Sophia, I know Laura is being a big pain in the butt, but I think you're letting Fred off too easily. I mean, he's a grown man with a job. Why doesn't he just move?" I explained, "He doesn't want to abandon her, Rosa. I tried to tell him about moving in together, but Fred just doesn't want to. Or I think Fred gives off too many red flags. It's quite concerning. I know you love him, but you should open your eyes a little." Feeling conflicted, I responded, "I know he's not doing a lot, but I can't force him. I don't like giving ultimatums. If things get worse, I'll break up with him." Talking to Rosa helped open my eyes. I knew it was time to have a serious talk with Fred. When I finally talked to him, I said, "Fred, this is too much. Your mother has a strong hold on you. You might have no problem with it, but I do. Things cannot continue like this. I told you she keeps inviting herself all the time. It's not my fault." Fred defended himself. "Well, then move in with me. Won't that be better?" I argued, moving out is not abandonment. You're being ridiculous. "Look, Sophia, please give me some time. I'll figure something out." I was getting ready to break up with Fred. I was afraid he would never think about my feelings. So I distanced myself from him for a few days. Well, that didn't last long because he ended up proposing to me. He also promised me that he would move in with me after we get married. I was so happy that he was finally seeing some sense. So I said yes and decided to marry him. My wedding planning, however, was another matter entirely. Fred kept inviting Laura to all our meetings. She went with us to the florist, venue, baker, and even the DJ. Laura had a lot to say about the money we were spending. She said, "Oh my God, Sophia, you need to cut back on your expenses. My son cannot afford to spend all his money on you, Fred. Have you forgotten your responsibility towards me?" Fred reassured her, "No, Mom, don't worry. We have everything covered, Sophia. Would you mind cutting down on some of the expenses?" I snapped back, "You can choose not to pay for it. I am perfectly capable of funding this wedding. And Laura, you need to give your opinions when asked. If you want to save money, it's on you. For example, instead of spending on this stupid wedding, who knows how long this marriage will last anyway?" I was absolutely fuming. I was so mad that I left the room. I went to my car and drove home. Fred showed up at my place and begged me to calm down. He said, "Sophia, I know Mom can be a bit much. Please don't be mad. I'll handle her. She didn't mean those things." I couldn't take it anymore. "I'm tired of your mom, Fred. Why do you keep inviting her to our meetings anyway? She's just excited for her only son to get married. How can I exclude her? You know it's impossible for me to say no." Furious, I continued, "For your comfort, I don't even share much information with Rosa. Why can't you do the same for me? This is my mom, Sophia. She is more important than Rosa." I argued, "You're going back to setting boundaries. You haven't even made any effort to look at a place for us. I'm close to ending my lease. When will you finally do what you say?" Fred pleaded, "I'm trying to find a place, Sophia. Mom keeps crying when I mention moving houses. You have to understand, she needs me. I'll figure something out after the wedding." Despite all my doubts, I still ended up marrying Fred. I know most of my friends were extremely disappointed in me, especially Rosa, who warned me about Fred before the wedding. However, I was convinced that he would change. He did promise to move from his mother. Well, turns out he didn't have anything planned. Even after the wedding, I showed him some places, but he rejected them with various excuses. Ultimately, we had to move in with his mother. Part 4. Fred seemed to be extremely happy having me and Laura together in the same house. He didn't need to balance his time between two places anymore. However, things were pretty bad for me. Laura was constantly up my butt about the way I do things. She demanded I make her meals and do more household chores than the two of them. Laura was also constantly berating me about my lifestyle choices. Thing is, I earned way more money than Fred. I was contributing a lot to household expenses and rent. I was making Laura's mortgage payments. To everyone outside our arrangements, it seemed unfair. I was making a lot of sacrifices and supporting Laura and Fred's lifestyle. Additionally, I was paying for a house that would never be mine. Fred stopped all efforts to look for a new place after a few months. He said that we were doing fine here, and Laura also made a scene when we talked about moving. Things were also getting very stressful at my job, and I had no time to press the issue. Months went by, and my work became even more stressful. Fred worked part-time and survived on my money most of the time. I was so exhausted every day that I didn't have the energy to get myself out of the situation. One day when I came home from work, Fred said, "I have booked us a vacation, Sophia. I see that you have been stressed at your job. You're doing a lot for us, but it's time to take a break." I was skeptical. "Are you serious? Did you make all the arrangements?" Fred replied, "Yep, I booked our dream honeymoon. I know we didn't have time for one back when we got married. I did use your card to make the payments. You know I cannot afford that right now." I was frustrated. "Oh my God, Fred. I am so happy we can finally go on our dream honeymoon. It will be so nice. Thank you for the surprise. I don't mind if you booked it with my card. You should call your work for the leave. We will start the vacation next week." I was overjoyed and made all the arrangements at work. Trust me, I thought Fred was finally paying attention to our relationship. My positive thoughts were pretty short-lived. You see, I accidentally saw Laura packing her bags a day before our vacation. When I asked what was going on, she said, "Are you dumb or something? I'm coming with you guys." I was taken aback. "What? No, this is a trip for the two of us. This is supposed to be our late honeymoon. There is no need for that." Fred's mother asserted, "Fred invited me anyway. He will never leave me behind, Sophia. I invited Mom. She would be lonely if we left without her. I booked us a suite, so there will be plenty of room for all three of us. We will have a great trip." Trying not to escalate the situation, I reluctantly agreed. "Oh, I see. Okay, then we can all go there together." Fred was overjoyed by the fact that I gave in so easily. He thought that I was slowly starting to accept Laura's constant presence in our lives. While he was dead wrong, the first thing I did was call Rosa when I was alone. I said, "Rosa, he did it again. He invited Laura on our late honeymoon. I am done, Rosa. I think it's time to take revenge. I don't want to please him anymore. It's about time, girl. Tell me what you need me to do." Rosa agreed. "Why don't you fly to our destination? I'm planning something. We will have a great vacation, just the two of us, and I will also teach them a good lesson." I had my plan ready. I was just waiting for all of us to reach our destination first. I told them to travel separately, making it seem like I had some work in the morning that I needed to complete. Once they were on their way to the airport, I called up the hotel and canceled the entire reservation. This included sightseeing along with food and board. Since the purchase was made on my credit card, I was able to get it canceled without Fred. In the next step, I told the hotel receptionist to book me a room in another of their hotels. This was a more posh hotel from the same company. She gladly transferred the booking, and I only had to pay the price difference. With everything in place, I was just waiting for Fred to go. Meanwhile, I cleaned out my stuff from Laura's house and moved into Rosa's place. When Fred finally called me, he said, "Sophia, where the hell are you? Why does the hotel say you canceled the booking?" I bluntly responded, "That's because I did cancel the booking. I allowed you to make this purchase for me and you only. Since you cannot go anywhere without your mom, you're welcome to pay for this one. I won't be funding your vacation." Fred, in disbelief, questioned, "Are you serious? Why didn't you just tell me about the problem?" I retorted, "That's because you never listen. Since you didn't consult me about bringing your mother, I didn't consult you before canceling the vacation. You can have fun with your own money. Oh, by the way, I moved my things out of the house. I'm leaving for good. I'm done with you and your mom." Fred panicked. No, listen to me, Sophia. Please listen to me." I simply cut the call. I had absolutely no reason to talk to him. I never replied to any of the texts he sent. I also avoided both his and Laura's calls. In fact, I actually blocked Laura after a few hours. With everything in place, Rosa and I went on my dream honeymoon. We stayed far away from where Laura and Fred were supposed to be. Thankfully, we were able to avoid them. We only posted the pictures once we got back. Fred kept begging me to come back. He even told me that he will move out of the house. Fred said that not being able to talk to me really scared him. After having a terrible trip in a cheap hotel and his mother complaining all the time, he had enough. He cut the vacation short and returned home. When he found my stuff gone, he had a breakdown and panicked. Fred actually showed up at Rosa's place. He said, "Sophia, please don't divorce me. I'll change. I know how much of a problem Laura was becoming. I'm sorry for ignoring your feelings. This will never happen again." I remained firm. "You never stood up for me before. I don't have an ounce of trust in you. It's better for us to separate. We can go to couples counseling. You can stay away from me in separation, but please give me a chance." Fred pleaded, "Fine. In that case, I need to see real changes. I don't want false promises." That's when the real revenge happens. Fred finally realized that he would have lost me for his mother. Finally, it dawned on him that he cannot neglect me for his mother. So he immediately moved out and stayed with a friend. From what I've heard, he even had fights with Laura and told her off for ruining his life. Laura finally understood that she will never be the only woman in his life. Things between me and Fred are still strained. However, he is doing his best to stay away from Laura. Laura has tried all sorts of things, like name-calling and even showing up at my work to berate me. She wailed about how I stole her son. Everyone probably told her to leave and never come back. I'm still unsure of what to do with Fred, but it's refreshing to see that he has learned his lesson. I'm also super happy that Laura has finally realized that she has lost the competition for her son's affection. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button below. Your support means the world to me. I'll catch you in the next video. Bye for now.